Well, after the delays we had yesterday, it is so great to be able to see a circuit that is dry and a circuit which is about to have the sounds of INDYCAR engines in a couple of moments time, and it already does with a 5-minute extra installation session. Hello everyone and welcome to another great weekend of INDYCAR, which doesn't only have one race for you, and it has two. And today it's Super Saturday because we've got practice, we've got qualifying, and we've got either race one coming up. Well, it is great to have your company, everyone, wherever you might be joining us from in the world. We're going to join INDYCAR Radio in 2 minutes, but we've basically had 5 minutes of a session right now that is basically not televised at all. So INDYCAR Radio have not gone on at the moment, but they will be going on in about 2 minutes time, so I'll continue talking you through a little bit more details before we do so. Alex Palou, of course, comes into this as our championship leader, does Alex Palou, but the story was that Alex Palou is human last time, because we saw not only one mistake earlier on, one mistake which wasn't punished, fine, but then in the final stages, he went out wide and he lost the lead to Scott Dixon, who keeps up 21 consecutive wins in 21 different seasons. That's absolutely phenomenal from Scott Dixon, and it's so great to be able to see something like that. And the streak was finally broken. No Palou, no Kirkwood, someone else winning. That was absolutely phenomenal. But that was the story last time out, and that's what we come here into Iowa with. We've got practice, as I mentioned. We've got a extra long practice session due to the rain and the delay that we had yesterday. They've given the drivers 5 minutes of non-televised action. No INDYCAR Radio, none of that. That's going on right behind us at the moment as we wait for them to come on. So that's what's going on at the moment. That's what we're waiting for. You can see that the timings are updated. That's what the drivers have been doing over the last 5 minutes. And they've got highline practice to start off with. Then we will hand over to an open practice for the rest of the session. So it's going to be very interesting to see how everything is going to play out. It's going to be a very interesting weekend of INDYCAR. And well, it's supposed to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's been changed. Let's head over to INDYCAR Radio.
This is the NTT INDYCAR Series. With live coverage of today's practice, this is INDYCAR Radio.
Thankfully, finally, ready to go green here at Iowa Speedway. Mark James, Davey Hamilton, Drake York, and Alex Wolf set to take you through the rest of the day's proceedings, along with Michael Young, as we get set to practice. And Davey, we qualify, and then we go racing by the time this day is done.
Well, we're going to talk about yesterday.
We are.
Yeah, what a crazy day yesterday.
Bit to talk about.
But you're right. So one thing that on days like today, with no practice yesterday, so we got to practice today, go into we qualify, or is this going to be qualifying? It's got mixed up a little.
We've got practice first, then we go Indy next. And then they're starting on points, by the way. Yeah. And then we will qualify a little bit later on today before we go racing in this thing 275.
So what you mentioned too, don't make a mistake, because there's a race tonight. I mean, you don't have a lot of time in between these practice sessions and the race. And same thing tomorrow. I mean, we get right after it. So this little 7/8 mile super fast racetrack, fortunately they tested here. Most of these teams and drivers know what to expect out of the cars, the tires. One thing that we are going to keep track of, it's very it just gets more physically demanding around this place, I think, the way these cars are. And I think some of these drivers are going to be a little tuckered out after not just the first race, but maybe even halfway through it, be pretty tired, and they got another day to go tomorrow.
All of this necessitated by, as you suggest, an interesting event that rolled through here yesterday afternoon, late in the day. Mother Nature unleashed her fury on this area with heavy rains and funnel cloud sightings and things of that nature. And fortunately, everyone here was unscathed. But a lot of curiosity seekers looking outside the windows and standing outside with their phones and recording it, posting on social media. But again, happy to report, most importantly, importantly, that congratulations to the staff at Iowa Speedway. They worked very, very hard and were proactive in keeping people safe and sound, and everyone got through it unscathed, but unfortunately it washed out the day's proceedings yesterday, except for about a 40-minute practice session.
You know, anytime we have a track with lights, it seemed like we wait forever, you know, to wait for the track to dry, but they did. They seen the radar. They knew it was going to be wet. It was wet all night last night, raining late, so they did the right thing, no question about it. One thing right now is you can see this Group 1 going out there. They have some white, they have some lines on the racetrack, getting rubber on that outside line right now, and to try to make racing better these short tracks.
And this is what's known as highline practice, and we've seen this at other ovals, and the goal, the stated goal, is just what the name suggests. I mean, it's somewhat of a controlled speed, but race control wants to see them move up about a half to a full groove higher than the natural racing groove, especially through 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, in an effort to create another groove of racing for the races today and tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's right, and it works, right? I mean, we've seen it at St. Louis. We do it a lot. You know, I'm old school. A lot of times we just sprayed some we call it goop on the racetrack and make that outside a little bit stickier, but it seems to work and get that Firestone rubber laid down in that second groove, and just you have to make a second groove around here to make this race exciting.
And it's interesting to note too that in an effort to improve the competitive nature of things here at Iowa Speedway, some changes have been made to the downforce package. Make some changes to the conditions in terms of the downforce of these race cars, Davey, and essentially a lot of the downforce has been taken off the bottom side of the race car and forced it to the top.
You know, that's a great thing, having Delara as a partner and Firestone, and obviously the great people of the series. They know all the little you know, at Indy, I know the strakes and some things that go on the bottom of these cars, but what I don't know, I haven't been to a wind tunnel with them. I know it makes a little difference on downforce, but you don't know how much. But they know exactly what they do, and they've taken some things off, as you mentioned, Mark, just to make the cars, equal, trying to make the racing, better. And Delara, they spend hours, hundreds and hundreds of hours in wind tunnels working on these cars, knowing what that aerodynamic disadvantage and advantage makes.
Firestone brought 1,800 tires, 13 sets per entry. An additional set of non-race specs are being used for this highline practice. Yeah. So none of their race tires and what they have allotted for practice and qualifying are being used right now. Now, after the test in June, it was determined that a new right front was needed due to the extreme loads. So that's new, but the left side's essentially the same as Indy, but with a smaller stagger.
Yeah, so which that smaller stagger, what that means is the rear tires, they have the right side is bigger than the left side at all time, and how much difference between those two is what we call stagger. And so this is a pretty tight track, so we probably run more here than at most places, but they eliminated some of that, just trying to make the tires wear better. Now what that does, it doesn't make the cars turn quite as good, but the teams have figured that out, what they need to do on shock springs to get the car to turn through the corner.
And again, two groups as part of this highline practice, and the cars that you don't see now will be making their way to the racetrack momentarily. We can tell you, condition-wise, for the rest of this weekend, a far cry from all that we had to deal with on Friday. Let's get more on the specifics about what a wonderful day that we're starting off with weather-wise by heading to the pits and checking in with Drake York.
And I'll back you up there, Mark. Absolutely wonderful conditions here to start off the day at Iowa Speedway. 74 degrees Fahrenheit, the ambient temperature, 23 degrees Celsius. The racetrack, 88 degrees rather Fahrenheit with 31 degrees Celsius. And I almost hesitate, but I want to call it hazy. But the good news is no clouds in sight. All sunshine down here on pit lane.
Yeah, sounds like it's going to be a pretty good day racing-wise, Davey. Going to be two pretty good days here at Iowa Speedway.
Yeah, watching these cars, too, they look really good in that second groove. I'll be honest with you. They look like they have speed. They look stable up there. It looks like everybody's staying above that dotted line that they kind of temporarily put down to make sure that second groove's good. So that's good for all of us, all the fans, and actually for the racers to be able to be confident and then go on that outside groove to try to make a pass.
Some of the folks we talked to in the paddock area said yesterday definitely that second groove should be available on starts and any restarts we might have, but their concern would be maybe 8 to 10 laps into that stint, they wonder if that second groove would be there, because let's face it, I mean, with the tire deg, that high line's going to get kind of dirty and marbles are going to form there.
Yeah, and just to give you a close idea of what kind of speeds they're running, 166.0 in Indy next practice yesterday, 165 is what they were running. So when they go in that second groove, it's almost the same time as Indy Next. So it's going to help them in the next race as well, just so they have confidence to go up in that second groove. None of them really did yesterday. I think maybe Miles Rowe sampled it with a little bit, but their practice got short because of the tornado warning horns went off and the rains came. But it should be a good race for both IndyCar and Indy Next.
Well, you know, though, as long as you've been doing this, as long as I've been around it, some drivers, no matter what they do, no matter how they do it, are just never, ever going to be comfortable running to the high line. There are those like a Santino Ferrucci and a Joseph Newgarden who made some daring passes and some daring moves and won some races Joseph has to the high side. So those are the drivers that are going to benefit the most from all this.
And saying that, now that you mentioned Joseph, he's dominated this racetrack. You have the stats that you'll give everybody later, but he has dominated this event, and he's done that second groove. He loves it up there. And, you know, Mark, it's all about confidence in your car and how it's set up. And when you run it one time and you can go through there and feel that grip level and just know how it's going to react around other cars, it's really not that hard, but it's confidence, because you don't want to have an accident car. You're going to be conservative right now, but that second groove is the place to be to try to make some time.
Let me give you those numbers now that you reference. I shared these with you guys yesterday when we weren't on air, but there are 12 drivers in the field of 27 that have led laps here at Iowa Speedway. Will Power has led 433, McLaughlin 260, Dixon 131, Pillow 104, and then the number goes all the way down to David Malukas, who's led a lap here. Those 12 drivers have combined to lead 1,177 laps. Joseph Newgarden has led 1,847.
Yeah, just dominated this place. Now, as we know, he's 19th in the points championship, Mark. No secret that he's had a horrible year. There's no wins, a lot of DNFs. This is the track that he could try to redeem himself and the Penske organization. They've struggled. They have no wins. I think Power's the highest in the points, like in the 9th position, somewhere there. McLaughlin's behind him. Then, as we just said, Newgarden's in 19th. So that team, they need a big rebound, and if they can do it anywhere, matter of fact, Will Power's really good here as well. So don't count McLaughlin. McLaughlin, I think, should have won this race last year. He just got out of strategy or, some lap traffic, but they can run faster.
Well, Nathan Brown posted some numbers on Penske of late. They're in the midst of a 10, and Nathan, of course, covers the NTT IndyCar Series for the Indianapolis Star. A 10-race winless drought, their longest since 2015. No podiums in 4 races, the longest since 2013. 8 DNFs in 25, the most since 2015, and 13 races without a win for Joseph Newgarden, his longest streak since 2015-16. If they're going to get their fortunes reversed, this would be the place to do it. They've won 9 of the previous 21 races, and Will Power and Scott McLaughlin won here a year ago.
Yeah, that's right. So it is their opportunity to try to, this last part of the season, which, by the way, is coming quick. We go right from here. We go straight to Toronto, straight to Laguna Seca, California. Have a weekend off. We're back in Portland. And next week, then we got Milwaukee and Nashville. That's it for us. So the season is definitely winding down. So they have time to kind of make their cap this season off to a better year for them just by winning some races.
Let's go to pit lane, check in with Alex Wolf.
Well, Mark, I'm stationed out at a pit out in a turn 1, watching those drivers stay above that dotted white line, working in the second group, and also watching Alex Palou, who by Alex Palou's standards, looking for a rebound after that uncharacteristic error cost him the victory at Mid-Iowa Sports Car Course last week. But after making some runs in the high line, he came in, they took the side pods off of the DHL Honda, and looked like they were making some adjustments to the openings on the radiator to maybe try for aerodynamics as he headed back out on the track just moments ago. So Alex Palou heading back out after some tuning done for Chip Ganassi Racing.
And down where Alex is and where their pit box is, Davey, it's an interesting pit layout because of the 27 cars here and the relatively lengthy size of those pit boxes.
Yeah.
That pit lane actually extends down to about the apex of turn number 1.
Yeah, that's right. It sure does. Right at the apex actually is where the timeline ends. And then you got to remember, it doesn't start until, coming off of turn 4 and it's straight, but you enter pit lane coming off the back straightaway. So you're on a warm-up lane, which is a fairly difficult warm-up lane, a little bumpy all the way through turn 3, turn 4. Then you have to get slowed down for pit lane. So we'll figure out what the time sector is between top and bottom. Oh, yeah, we got
a car right below us sliding through the grass. It looks like the 27 car of Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah, that's right.
Title sponsor, Souk up on the car this weekend, and it looks like Kyle is able to bring that to a rest in the infield, and is often the case. The AMR IndyCar safety crew is there right away, and we'll wait until we get a peek at the replay to see exactly what happened, but clearly there was a spin involved, we would think, with Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah, either that or maybe, everybody's trying that upper groove, and sometimes if you get just a little bit above it, the grip might not be there. It looks like maybe the right side tires. I don't see the white Firestone on the right front tire.
Yeah, or the rear for that matter.
Rear, yeah, may have just got up against that outside wall, and safe than sorry, and just bring it down to the infield with, looks like very minimal damage.
And again, these a couple of highline practices for these teams, and they do so in split groups. So we'll let the second half of the field take their shot at this as the clock continues to roll on highline practice, and then we will have it all skate after that.
Yeah, and here we go. He goes down in turn 3. Actually, not in the high line. He goes in the bottom line. Actually gets it did more damage than we thought. It actually goes down on the bottom line. Gets the car a little bit sideways. He overcorrects, goes up, and hits the wall off of turn 4. The right side suspension is completely wiped out. By the time he rolled to us, it stood back up, so it looks okay, but it's definitely damaged on the right side of that car.
If you are the Ultimate IndyCar fan, you can join the Ultimate Fan Club, become a member of IndyCar Nation, get weekly newsletters to your inbox, and take advantage of exclusive track experiences at each race weekend. Plus, get discounts on merch and race tickets. You can go to IndyCarNation.indycar.com, and you can join. You mentioned, Davey, a rather ambitious schedule. This doubleheader weekend, part of 5 races in 4 weekends for these teams.
Yeah, it's busy and it's fun for us. I mean, we're somewhere every weekend and at the places we want to be and watching the IndyCar series. But the downside is it's going by a little too fast, and we got plenty of races on the schedule still. It's still a battle for not only the championship, but these guys want to win. Those that haven't won, there's only been 3 winners this year: Scott Dixon, Kyle Kirkwood, and Alex Palou. And these other drivers, like plenty of them, like all the Penske guys for sure. And there's many more that want to try to get a win in.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think the discussion really centers on the championship much anymore. I mean, I think it's kind of a foregone conclusion because, as we mentioned before, in some of these championship battles, you've reached the point. And although he did make a bobble in turn number 9 at Mid-Ohio that opened the door for Scott Dixon, not only do you have to get hot and reel off maybe 2-3 wins in a row, but you've got to rely on Alex Palou having bad weekends, and that's something he's not prone to do.
Yeah, he made a couple mistakes at Mid-Ohio, and one of them down in turn 4 where he went off. It didn't affect him any, but the last one in turn 9 and allowed his teammate Scott Dixon to get by him. Then with 5 laps to go, just couldn't get back by Scott, and he knows what he did. He knows he made a mistake. Really wasn't any pressure on him either, but that goes to show one good thing. We know he's human, at least, that he can make mistakes even though he has a 112 or 13-point championship lead.
Scott Dixon, boy, I'll tell you, his numbers are just absolutely staggering in terms of what he's been able to accomplish. His 59th career win at Mid-Ohio, his 23rd season in racing with a win, 21 consecutive years with a win. He's racked up 144 podiums and 214 top 5s.
Yeah, and don't forget when you say that 59 wins, the all-time winning driver in the IndyCar series is A.J. Foyt at 67. Not that far behind, because Scott Dixon, I don't see. I mean, he look. I don't know that he can catch him, but he's not ready just to quit. He's got a ways to go in this, and he could. We could see a record broken there as well.
I mean, he started when he was 18 years old. That's what people forget.
That's right.
I mean, he's been doing it a long time. Matter of fact, this is one of those rarities in terms of Iowa Speedway because in 21 starts, he's never been on the top step of the podium here.
Yeah, no, that's pretty surprising. And another thing we got to kind of back up, Scott, he has a family now, right? He has a wife and beautiful kids, and his son went up to Alex Palou. I don't know if you've seen it on social media, and his son is definitely an Alex Palou fan, and said, hey, not Palou, I'm sorry, but Pato Award fan, and asked Pato if he could tie his dad. He didn't want him to beat his dad. He wanted to tie his dad, but he wants him to win. So it's pretty cute seeing that. And so you never know. Even Scott Dixon's son's he's a Pato Award fan.
family happened to be there, in fact.
Yeah, it was great. Why did you guys love that, too? Yeah.
But here, he's done everything but one here, Davey. 18 top 10s, 4 podiums, and 3 poles for Scott Dixon.
Yeah, I mean, don't count him out either. I mean, we've seen him on ovals, and we know he could win these, and it's just his teammate, just with Palou being so good this year, just not that Scott's been out of the game, because he is, I think, 3rd or 4th in the championship point standing, but we're used to seeing him in victory a little more than just one time at this point in the season.
Well, from a point standpoint, Alex Palou has amassed 430 points. Kyle Kirkwood is second with those 3 wins and 317 points. Paddle Award is at 305 points. Scott Dixon, 4th back at 282, and Lundgaard completes the top 5 at 263. And most of those guys, Davey, typically would be having championship caliber years if it weren't for the wins that Alex Palou has stacked up.
When you have wins like Alex has at 7, it's pretty difficult to try to beat him. That means, but you look at some great drivers, that all the Arrow McLaren drivers, no wins there yet. I look at Colton Herta. We expect him to have wins, and he doesn't have one yet. And there's plenty of other guys. All the Penske organization, actually, with the AJ Foyt camp, now that they have Penske technologies on their side, setting their cars up. Malukas and Frucci have been fast as well, and there's plenty of other ones. Matter of fact, if we go back to our last oval, which is St. Louis, there was 10 guys that could win that race. We just didn't know who it was going to be. It was it was pretty wild. Like Foster, who actually caused a big wreck there because he got a little high, got the wall. He was fast at one point, and there was some. It was pretty exciting. I expect the same here.
Well, that's going to put the wraps on Group A, and Group B going to go out momentarily, but that session lasted 11 minutes, and in the interest of moving the day along as we should, Davey, and to give everybody an equal shot at this highline practice, this second group will have just 11 minutes in which to complete their highline practice. Yeah,
that's right, and like I say, it's really good to do that just to get that upstairs rubbered in.
Let's go back to Alex Wolff.
In the Arrow McLaren pit for Nolan Siegel with Kyle Moyer. And Kyle, I know just about 11 minutes out there on track with the Group 1, but out the Highline seam.
Yeah, no, it was okay. Biggest thing there is everybody got to see what kind of speed. A couple guys were cheating it a bit, but yeah, you can run a low 19 there, and I think be okay. So this gives them a reference for the race time.
Now, of course, a really good weekend with the Nolan, your first weekend on the timing stand in Mid-Ohio. How did you assess how that weekend went, sort of integrating yourself into this McLaren program?
Yeah, well, it's just fun to be back at the racetrack, first off, and so that was enjoyable. But, I think we got about a 2/3 good weekend. We qualified good. We executed. The guys did a great job in pits and everything like that. We failed a little bit there in the race. So, you want to start where you finish at least or better. So, yeah, a little disappointed there, but, it's something to work out for sure.
And lastly, with this compacted schedule today, with a practice qualifying a race today and having this newness with Nolan, how important is it that even though you've only been here a couple of weeks, you're coming to a place that you've been with them with the open test a few weeks back?
Yeah, no, the test helped a lot. I think the teams that didn't test is probably going to hurt more. Fortunate enough, we had a great test here, so I think that'll relay over to what we need to do. And, I don't think we need much practice for our team. I think we're pretty good.
Well, appreciate the time as always, and good luck today.
Thank you. No problem.
Yeah, good stuff. And Alex told me that last week, Davey, during the morning warm-up session, he walked over to the pit box to say hello to Kyle, his first race with Arrow McLaren. And Alex said it took him a few minutes to get to him because there was a long line of people that were lined up to shake Kyle's hand and welcome him back to the racetrack.
Yeah, no, hey, it's a guy with talent like we continue to say that Kyle has. Crazy not to be at a racetrack because he has so much experience and so much knowledge and could definitely help teams win races because he's done it time and time again. Proof's in the pudding, right? He's been able to do it for a long time, and he's going to continue to do that. And as you said, I know he's a Monrovia guy, and you guys are really close, but I know you love to see him here, but so does everybody else.
We talked yesterday a little bit about this setup, and he told me that in his opinion, and this is just his opinion, that probably the thing that could quote-unquote improve the product most would be to continue to have conversations with Firestone in terms of the compound on those tires. He really feels like the tires are the key to improve the overall quality of racing.
Right, and you know, that's what slows down, right? I mean, that end of the day, it's tire deg, or tires give up, or tires blister, or they just don't have the grip that's needed. And so we just gotta, you know, I know Firestone works hard. I know.
Well, and to that point, I was going to make mention that once Firestone realized there was an issue in the test with that right front, they went to work on that right away, and that's why that paddock has so much respect for Firestone.
That's right, and it may not be the absolute optimum tire, but they did a tire that's safe, and that makes sure that it's going to make it through the race, going to make it through the stint, and they're great partners, and that Kyle's probably right, but. Another thing you got to remember, they got a lot of races on the schedule besides just this one.
Yeah, for sure. They're very, very busy. A little bit later on this morning, we'll have a conversation with Mark Williamson, who's back in the mountain dismount area. But Kyle Kirkwood brought out an early end of the first highlight session. Let's find out more from Greg York.
And Kyle Kirkwood just being seen released from the INDYCAR medical unit. I know you just got to see the replay for the first time just a few moments ago. What happened from your vantage point?
Yeah, it's still kind of wondering, if I'm being honest. We were running high, and the car was really, really good. We were really fast, and I was up there pretty much flat, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to go down low for this one lap and try and get around Reno, so he was going pretty slow. You kind of got to go quick to actually put rubber down on the track, so I wanted to get around him. And as soon as I went low, the car just swapped ends on me. So completely caught me off guard. Disappointed with that. Disappointed myself, if I'm being honest. So maybe shouldn't have been so aggressive right early on. But hey, things like this happen. It just sucks that it's such a compact day, and we got to now thrash to get the car ready for qualifying. So I'm sorry to the guys for sure, but we're fast. That's the good thing, and I'm not going to lift in qualifying regardless. So hopefully won't make a difference.
Is there any concern from the team that the car won't make it out for qualifying?
Not at all. It's fairly minor damage for hitting a wall on an oval. It was right rear. I went and looked around the car. It's right rear, kind of top wishbone, toe link, and then front toe link, and that was it. The floor looked fine. Looked like I could just throw some tape on it or something, and it'll be good to go. So we could almost get back out for this session if we thrashed hard enough. So see what happens.
All right, thank you, Kyle. We'll see him out there for qualifying. That's the good news, guys.
Yeah, no more frustrating thing for a driver than kind of be scratching his head a little bit and not knowing exactly what happened.
Yeah, you know, he is right. I mean, he did go to the bottom where there's usually more grip down there, but that thing did swap in, so he's probably scratching his head. But he blames himself a little bit for being aggressive. This is just the second groove. Get rubber in there, get rubber up there, and not really look for speed yet. But it could have happened later on anyways if it happened then. And we've seen in this session already a little bit of aggressiveness. Joseph Newgarden going underneath Alexander Rossi. Actually rubbed wheels a little bit going down there into turn one. He went underneath that Rossi, and Rossi turned down to make the corner, but Newgarden was going to stay in that second groove. Didn't hurt either car, but a little bit of rubbing going down into turn one between those two.
Well, we're in the second half of the season now, and you can tell that patience are wearing thin because we have the well-documented spat between Connor Daly and Santino Ferrucci that's carried on social media for a few days after Mid-Ohio. They get a little surly this time of the year, don't they?
Yeah, it does. I mean, patience get thin sometimes, and you know, for whatever reason, and I had the same situation, is there's certain times that you and another driver just happen to be together on the track all the time. It seems like that's kind of
we see that a lot, don't we?
Yeah, right. It's just like, how does it always be those two guys? And then they just get the patience get thin. They start getting a little aggressive, a little defensive, and you know, it's good for social media stuff. But end of the day is, you know, then in the day, you just got to, you know, put it behind you and go race clean.
Robert Schwartzman learning a little bit about what the expectation level is of this highline practice. He has been ordered to his pit box, Davey, for not proceeding as instructed in this highline session.
And you know what? That's on him. You know, I mean, they tell you it's highline practice, and it benefits him. You know, if he goes up there and he starts running that second line, gets confident with it, you don't need to break any track records. Other drivers know that you may be going a little bit slower up there. It's not about being fast. It's about rubbering that in. And him getting, as a rookie, getting laps up there is just nothing but benefits him. So, you know, his team should have told him, get up there. I mean, this is for you. This experience is for you to learn that upper groove and get confident in using it.
Well, Kyle Moyer's response was somewhat lukewarm to the effectiveness of this, and to that end, Davey, I'm looking to my right, and if you watch these cars going through one and two, they are either straddling that line or they're below it. I really don't see through 1 and 2 that they have a lot of confidence yet in there being a second race.
This second group is really cheating that line. Now, the last few cars stayed above it, but the first group was really good. They stayed above that thing all the way through turns 1 and 2, 3 and 4. I watched majority of them, and you're right on this one here. They start high, but they're pretty low. There's a car just went through, and I'll be honest with you, right now with the sun the way it is and the glare, it's hard to tell which car's which when you're looking down at turn 1 right now. They all kind of look the same.
Yeah, that is the challenge for sure. But again, we do want to make mention there'll be a 15-minute break, and then we will have an all skate. We will have a practice session, and then we'll get set for the Indy Next race. And Davey, that group starting on points, and they've made some notable changes to the setup of those Indy Next cars in terms of horsepower and downforce and things of that nature. And it was a pretty competitive practice session yesterday.
The entire field's within 1 second, so it's really competitive. But I mean, it's still 75 laps. The race went from 100 originally back in the day. It got down to 75. Then it got cut down to 55. Now it's back up to 75. They feel they have a package where they've taken 50 horsepower away. They've added some downforce onto these cars to slow them down a little bit, which I think is probably good because they were almost as fast as the Indy cars, to be really honest. They're only like 3 miles an hour slower. And those kids, they want to go fast, but you got to make them safe as well. So, it's going to be interesting. Now, one thing that we've heard, not just in Indy Next, but in IndyCar as well, this track is so physical. Some of these drivers having a hard time making a full stint, just turning the wheel. It's just so heavy, so much downforce these cars. It's hard on these drivers' arms, and they're having a hard time turning them.
Miles Rowe was a driver that put on a show yesterday in that 40-minute practice session. He'll roll off fourth, but he's going to be a driver to watch.
I really think that Miles looks the most confident than anybody out there. I'm not so sure he has the best car even. I just think that he looks the most confident. He was all over the place. He had his timing down. He's driving really well. And, he was second quickest in the practice. But when it comes to on track, he's on spot right now. He's very confident. Looks great.
Used to have some noteworthy bumps. Between turn 1 and 2, and then suddenly they worked on that. That bump disappeared, and then we had bumps develop between 3 and 4. Are there any notable places on this racetrack we're concerned about?
The new one is in turn 1. It's really early, turning into turn 1. It's kind of up high. There's a bump, and it's kind of right where, if you lift, it's kind of at a lifting point, which is not good because it unloads that car. And there is a bump high in turn 1 these drivers are negotiating with. That's really the only change from what I hear, without being on track till tomorrow and knowing exactly that they're dealing with. The rest of the track feels pretty much the same.
So we mentioned that Robert Schwartzman was parked for failure to follow through. And, Davey, we had an eye on what was going on through 1 and 2. Yeah. And Devlin DeFrancesco, Christian Lundgaard, Kiffin Simpson, all brought to their pit box for the same reason. Yeah,
and I'm watching down there. Some of these guys just trying to cheat it. I'm not sure why. Just go up there and make it good for everybody. Get confident. Use that outside line. See what your car can do up there. And as you mentioned, they start sneaking down from the center of the corner off instead of rounding that corner in turn 2. I look down at 3 and 4, a little better down there, but they're just barely above that white line, that dotted white line that the officials have put out there for them to stay above. But, in the day, it is to make racing better, but it is to help these drivers as well get used to that outside groove. I just seen another car. I don't know if he's going to come in right now. Yeah, he is. He went through the bottom line. Looks like Colton Herta went on the bottom. But
it might be one of the ECR cars.
Yeah, it might be one of these there, which would be Rossi, I think, is the one out there right now.
Well, you talked about the glare, and from our vantage point above the start-finish line, once they get to the exit of turn number 2, it's almost impossible for us to see exactly who they are. Every car's the same color,
aren't they?
Yeah,
tough.
They're all a washed-out white in color for sure, and there's just 23 seconds remaining in this session, and the reason we haven't given you much in terms of time and speed reports is the fact that they're not at full song out there. Yeah. So, you might wonder who's going fastest. This is not really a good indication of who's fast or who will be fast, but it might be a good indication, Davey, as you mentioned earlier, about the confidence that some of these drivers are now developing developing as the checkered flag flies, the confidence that they're developing in running a high line.
Yeah, no, I think that's what it's about. It's just about confidence. Some of the drivers have it. Some of them need it, and some of them will never get it. But it's key just to go up there and really try to work that outside line. And any veteran that you talk to say, yeah, that's on oval racing, that's where you got to get used to, because they're going to protect the bottom. You have to get in that outside line, and you have to get comfortable with it. And this is a really good opportunity for them to do it in this session right here.
Well, as we mentioned, Team Penske has won 9 of the previous 21 races here. Andretti Global as a team, they've done well here with 7 wins. Ganassi has picked up a couple of wins. Scott Dixon, the only driver that has been in every race at Iowa. 13 drivers have led laps here. And as we mentioned, Joseph Newgarden has led over 1,800 laps here at Iowa Speedway. And we have a bit of a break in the action now. We'll resume practice in about 9 minutes with the full field here in the NTT IndyCar Series. And while we have a break, let's check in with Alex Wolf.
And we have a chance to catch up with the Director of Communications for Java House, Matt Thompson. And Matt, so many things to get into with you with the Java House, but I guess most importantly from our standpoint, a lot of excitement for a couple of weeks when we head out to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for the Java House Grand Prix of Monterey.
We are so excited that the announcement went out and then the countdown has begun to the Java House Grand Prix of Monterey. It has just been a whirlwind of activity with Java House and IndyCar, and that's kind of like our Super Bowl now. Like we can't wait to get out there.
And I mean, it just continues the incredible activation that you and the folks at Java House have done here at the racetrack. I mean, if you don't see a Java House when you attend an IndyCar race, you're just not looking hard enough.
It's been great. I mean, so much fun, like just coming over here to the pits. So many people in Java House hats, in our team jerseys, all the branding, the fan zone, the amount of people over there trying our peel and pour pods and our Java House coffee. It has just been so much fun to be a part of this.
In fact, that activation has turned into ownership with the involvement of the ECR. And what's that experience been like for everybody at Java House to have some skin in the game, so to speak, and really have a vested interest?
It really has all escalated quickly. From the time we found out that we were, owners of the Ed Carpenter Racing ECR to now we're, primary sponsors on the car and then on the 20 and 21. And then we've got the Grand Prix of Monterey title sponsor there. It has just been great. And then the amount of fans that we've heard that have come to our fan zone activations at every race so far, we've given away, close to 10,000 samples at every single track. And then it's just been amazing to go from our coffee shops in Indianapolis to nationwide distribution of our peel and pour pods. It's crazy.
Those are coffee shops. I know we're a busy place in the month of May, especially with appearances from Ed Carpenter, from Alexander Rossi, Christian Rasmussen, and continuing that activation with some really entertaining commercials that people have been able to see on television.
Yeah, it's nice for the commercials. People get to see behind the scenes of what it's really like at Ed Carpenter Racing, where it's just, peel and pour and wheeling people around in chairs and, all the dynamics between Christian and Alex and Ed. It's been great. And then at the coffee shops, all 3 drivers came up with signature drinks in our Java House cafes. They all kind of designed them and came up with them themselves. There was a little internal competition as to which driver could sell the most. Christian ended up coming out on top, although he was, kind of playing loose with the rules, doing a chocolate drink, which is always kind of win. Ed went with hibiscus, and Alex landed on lavender, which I didn't even know we had at the time. But all 3 were delicious, hoping to do it again, but you never know.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, IndyCar Radio, for taking us through the Highline practice, and they will also be talking us through practice as well. Might say practice 1, but it's your only practice session. That's all you need to know. Just before we go into this session, I just want to quickly take the opportunity to run you through our results from the Highline practice as well. You don't need to look into it too much, but just for a base idea, it was Connor Daly who was in first, Rasmussen was in second, Will Power in third, Kirkwood fourth, Dixon fifth, Rosenquist, then we had Rossi, Ferrucci, McLaughlin, Herter, Simpson, Pelot, Rahal was in 13th, Siegel in 14th, Ericsson 15th, Malukas was in 16th, Pato Ward was in 17th, and then in 18th position it was Calamalo. He was ahead of Prema teammate Robert Schwartzman, and then it was Lundgaard, Armstrong, Di Francesco, Stingray Rob, Joseph Newgarden, Louis Foster, Jacob Abel, and Renus VK was at the back as well. But this is the more interesting session. It's open practice, so I am going to now hand back over in a couple of moments' time to IndyCar Radio as they get ready to talk you through this practice session.
Always provided tremendous insight and access, and I tell you, it's a busy weekend.
Yeah, well, Greg did a great job in asking questions, because that really gave us, everybody and our listeners, just a little bit of an idea of what. That's just one element of IndyCar racing. That's just one thing that makes this all happen, and that tire, how important the tires is, mounting and dismounting that many tires efficiently, making sure that they're mounted properly, balanced properly. So really good, opportunity. Even opens our eyes. Just think of that many tires for a weekend and what they have to do down there. When you go by there, you do see. I mean, they do it very professionally. It's all the machines set up, and they do a great job.
And by the way, you throw Indy Next into that as well.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Don't forget about that.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
So they're plenty busy for sure as an organization each and every weekend. And again, thanks to our good friend Mark Williamson for his access. Okay, does your mindset change at all with this practice session, knowing that you've got qualifying in just a couple of hours?
Yeah. So here's the tricky part: is yes, you want to go out there, and this track is the farther forward you start, the better off you are, just because of it's so short. Clean air is important, and you can get in lap traffic really quick, and you don't want to be in the back of the field and have those leaders sneaking up on you to go a lap down. So you do want a really good qualifying run, but on the other side of the coin, you want a good race car too. You want to make sure that car is balanced throughout the session, so that means full tank run. So they have a lot of work to do in this short little session right here. And what do they work on? They can't work on both, really. Do you work on a qualifying setup, or do you work on a race setup?
One of those drivers we feel like is going to test that high line early in the race is Santino Ferrucci. So what we're going to do here, Davey, we're going to get Santino's track description from a driver perspective, and then with the laps that you've turned around here over the years, the two-seater and whatnot, we're going to get your perspective on how Santino attracts this racetrack. So let's climb into the cockpit with Santino Ferrucci and take a lap around Iowa Speedway.
Obviously, as you come over the line, you're catching air because you're on the old asphalt. It's a little bumpy, but flat and left, baby. Flat and left into one. Little crack of the throttle just to set the car back on it out of two. Catch some more air down the back stretch because it's that old pavement, and our cars love the bottom. And once again, dude, flat back into 3-4. And to be honest with you, 3-4 is one of the cool corners. His running the top in 3-4, the second groove, is a lot of fun. And just trying to unwind it and get back up close to the wall before you go down the front stretch.
And we have got caution on the course, and we're looking around, and we see the AMR IndyCar safety crew. It looks like car 20 missed the pit entrances, and his entrances is down in turn number 1, and the AMR IndyCar safety crew is headed that way, and we'll keep an eye on that situation and see what's up with Alexander Rossi.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. I'm still looking for him. It's hard to see down that back straight of the wall, but when he misses the pit entrance, it means it's probably out of, car wasn't running, because you can miss it and still try to stay low and come in pit lane. So hopefully nothing issue there, but it threw a yellow, and Santino, he pretty much hit it right. I mean, I'm surprised he said a
not
little
as easy as he makes it sound.
Yeah,
though.
It's definitely not as easy as he makes it sound. And one thing with Santino, he's one of the guys that he wants to win. He'll do whatever he has to do, and he'll get used to it. And we'll see him go to that upper line. We'll see him head up at that upper line and going after it, no question about it.
So now, when he made the reference, the car catches air. What does that mean?
Well, he's a little drastic, but I mean, what happens is the straightaways are fairly rough here right now, just because of weather they get and the frost heaves and so forth in wintertime. So these cars are really rigid, they're really low, and down these straightaways, they're even bumping the straightaways, and so they'll bottom out a little bit, and it makes you feel like the tires come off the ground, and you can get a little bit of wheel spin. Well, RPMs could go up just a little bit when that happens. Thankfully, it's on the straightaway. It doesn't really affect you much, but it does affect your body when you start doing a lot of laps. It's hard to it wears your body out.
So now I'm looking over, and right even with a light pole at the exit of turn number 2, there's a patch over there, and then of course there's one right below us with the coin logo on it. Yeah. Is that where he's talking about in terms of maybe old asphalt?
It's actually kind of the length of the straightaway and then kind of the length of the back straightaway. So in between the corners there, where it's actually really good racetrack. It's just a bit bumpy. And another thing that's really, really bumpy is coming off a pit lane onto that racetrack. You kind of got to fish your way around because there's some big bumps. And then what happens when he says, hey, the tires come off the ground, they kind of do, because it wheel spins, and you get that. The RPMs will go up and then they get traction. RPMs come up and get traction. So it's definitely bumpy now. It's not to the eye. You got to be in these cars to feel it.
I'm going to be a little confused as the race progresses, Davey, because the first time in a long time, while we might be talking about tire deg, we certainly won't be talking about how to stack primaries and alternates.
Yeah.
We won't be talking about that this weekend.
We don't worry about it. It's all the same here. They haven't done that to us on the ovals yet, which could be good or bad, but I think it's a little bit risky.
We will in Nashville, I think, is where they do that. 'Cause they did that
that's
last
right.
year.
They did do a deal last year there, which is, I think the tires are a lot closer in that aspect, for sure.
So the 28 was actually the 28 car that brought out the caution, Marcus Ericsson, and so he has been given the mandatory 5-minute hold for bringing out that caution period. And again, this is one of those segments where technically it's listed as an hour, but you get 45 minutes to get this hour in for that very reason. When you bring out a caution, that stops the clock, and as much as possible gives them 45 minutes.
Which is really good. So I think Scott McLaughlin kind of brought that over from Supercars, and just to guarantee your track, each track gets a certain amount of time, and I think that's a really good thing to do, and that's kind of where they're at right now.
Well, fans, I'll tell you, if you're here today, welcome, and you're going to be busy throughout the course of the day because, again, reminding you that coming up shortly after we complete this qualifying session, we'll have complete coverage of all 75 laps of Indy next, and then after that, we will go IndyCar Series qualifying, and then, of course, we'll wrap up the day with our first race of the weekend, the Sync 275 powered by Sukup. Looking forward to that. Then, of course, tomorrow, the Farm to Finish 275 powered by Sukup. And it's interesting to note, Davey, with the qualifying format, that lap number 1 sets the field for race 1. Lap number 2 sets the field for race 2. So if you bobble at all, you could end up starting 4th or 5th one day and then maybe 15th or 16th the next.
And if you bobble in between those laps, like coming off a 4 and 3 and 4 on your first lap, you cost your first one, but you don't get speed up for your second one. So it is. I think it's pretty basic. I think when new tires get on the cars, they're going to be pretty darn consistent. So I don't think you'll see a huge difference between lineup for first race and lineup for second. I think they're going to be pretty consistent.
Now, we know that when we go to a place like Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway, we know that there is a noticeable difference between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. These turns allegedly are exactly the same in terms of their radius, their banking, and everything, but how different are they, in fact?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because it's a D-shaped racetrack. And anytime you have a D-shaped racetrack, they can't be exactly the same because, for example, we'll start in turn 1. You're coming off that D, so the entry is pretty big, wide, and open. But by the time you get to turn 2, it's tight over there. It's really tight getting into turn or coming on that back straightaway off of turn 2. And then just the opposite, you go into turn 3. That's a tight one getting in, which is okay because we do late entries in these cars. That's where they have the most grip, but it's really easy and a long rolling corner coming off of turn 4.
Is that stagger set up as such to where, especially on that back stretch, if we get the in-car camera shot over the driver's head, we may see that wheel cock to the left a little bit?
Yeah, you're
to the right.
To the right, because what happens is you're exactly right. With that stagger, makes the car want to turn left, and when you're going down the straightaway, you got to counter it just a little bit because it's those back tires are trying to make the car go left, and you're wanting to go straight down that, especially down the back straightaway. They'll have just a little bit of wheel into the right.
So at some tracks, you get that opportunity to take that hand off the wheel and flex a little bit. You might not have that luxury here.
No, you won't.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, matter of fact, you go to a track like Indianapolis, and you really have time to relax and breathe, even though you're going 230 plus miles an hour, and it's very hard and difficult, but you have time to relax. You have time to look around and observe and look at your dash and kind of make changes down the straightaway. Here, it happens so darn fast, you don't really have much of a chance to even relax or, like, say, make changes, whether it's fuel mixture, whether it's your anti-roll bar, whether it's a weight jacker. You got to be quick with it around here. 40
minutes remaining in the session. Scott McLaughlin is P1 at 183.514. Joseph Newgarden at 182.319. Alex Palou is fourth fastest, 182.013. Alexander Rossi fourth quick at 181.761. Connor Daly completes the top 5 at 181.657. Marcus Ericsson was sixth fastest at 180.933. He was just released after that 5-minute hold, and Drake has more from his pit box.
Yep, they've just dropped that car down off the air jack and ready to send out the Delaware Life Honda of Marcus Ericsson. And, of course, getting that hold from IndyCar, as you mentioned, Mark. sounded like they possibly went too far in an adjustment that prevented Ericsson from getting onto pit lane how he wished, and the team just a few moments ago was pouring over the front end of that race car, pulled off the damper cover, was adjusting the dampers, and along with a hefty amount of adjustments on the left rear of that race car, and they just sent him back out.
And you hear drivers, you don't want to be too neutral, I guess. You want to find the balance to the race car. I think this weekend, as much as any, you're going to hear them trying to find a quote-unquote balance.
Balance, and what that means really is you want, if the back of the car isn't stable and you think it's going to slide out, or it is actually slide a little bit, you cannot be fast. You're not going to be aggressive, because you know at any time the back of that car could spin around. So ideally, what you want is that car just to be neutral through the corner, where the front and the back are gripping the same. Neither one are sliding. That's going to make you fastest. But to be faster, if you have to have one or the other, you want the front end just to have a little scuff, knowing that the front, if something's going to slide or something's going to give up, it's that front end just a little teeny bit, knowing that your back's solid and you can still be aggressive doing it.
Alex Wolf's on pit lane. Alex?
Taking a look at Alex Palou as they continue to tune on that DHL Honda, the 10 car. Just moments ago, they have the side pods off. Given that the once over, they have the engine cowling off as well. And they were paying attention to the shocks and springs. They made a change to the springs, so I think they might have been finding those light and squeezy on this particular run. But they made that adjustment, and Alex Palou is getting ready to go back out. They got the starter on board, and the 10 car is going to head back out on track.
Now, good stuff from Alex Wolf. McLaughlin continues P1, then Newgarden, Palou, Rossi, Daly, Ericsson. We stopped right there, but let's move on and give you where your favorite driver's running. Scott Dixon is 7th fastest. Paddle Award is 8th. Nolan Siegel 9th quick. Armstrong 10th. 11th Rosenquist, then Rasmussen and Santino Ferrucci. Will Power starting to pedal it a little quicker. He slipped into that 8th spot. 15th fastest is Eilot, then Rahal, Schwartzman, Simpson, DeFrancesco and Foster, then Stingray Robb, David Malukas, Christian Lundgaard, Ritas VK, Abel and Herta. You heard Kyle Moyer express earlier some concern for those race teams that may not have tested here.
Yeah, it's I don't know who tested and who didn't. I think most of the teams did come and test, but I agree with him. I think it's a situation where if you did not test here, you may be a little bit behind the 8 ball. Now, 2 cars have not taken to the track yet. Both Andretti cars, Colton Herta and then Kyle Kirkwood, who they're in the garage right now trying to get that thing fixed up to round out the 27-car field. I think Herta is on pit lane, just has not made any laps yet.
Well, and you heard Kyle Kirkwood say earlier that a lot of bolt-on stuff was what was damaged in that incident that he had during the highlight session, and he had every confidence in the world that the team was able to he thought they would be able to make quick repairs and get him back out. But Davey, as you well know, oftentimes cosmetically it might not seem to be significant, but once you get it back there, it might be.
That's right, because he thought it was just toe links, but I can promise you, after seeing that right front go in, it was the entire right front corner. The suspension got bent. You got to look at the upright. You got to look at all the mounts. They have external mounts where those uprights go to. You want to change all those, and then by the time you get all that changed, and look at the underwing to make sure. He thought, well, maybe a little tape, but that probably is not the Andretti way with a little tape. They're probably going to put a new underwing in there, and then by the time you get it on scales and do all the toes, leads, setups, weights, it takes a little bit.
Well, we expect a good weekend for Ritas VK, an 8-start series, as a 9th and a 5th a year ago. He finished 4th in 2022, but it's been a good season for Ritas VK, a 9th place at Mid-Ohio. He has a top 5 and 6 top 10s, including a 10th place finish at Road America in his first year with Dale Coyne. And earlier this weekend, our Drake York caught up with Ritas VK.
Joined now by Ritas VK, and we were just chatting off air a second ago about the fact that you guys did not come here to test here. You chose to go to Milwaukee instead, and there's been talks about how the pavement has aged and the bump going into turn 1. Do you feel like you're a little bit behind to start the weekend here at Iowa, or do you feel like you're still on par with all those other teams?
I think we are, of course, a little bit behind, mostly on recent memory as drivers, coming to this track. It's going to take a few more laps to get up to speed, but we kind of sensed that there was going to be rule changes regarding to downforce and tire pressures and everything that IndyCar mandated, and that happened with Firestone. So it's different for everybody that tested here anyway, which was the case last year. We felt great in the test. We showed up, and we really sucked in practice 1. So I think it's still kind of an unknown for a lot of people. I think everybody kind of has to find that sweet spot again. So still really happy we tested in Milwaukee instead, because we had a really valuable day there. Also the timing with it right before Gateway, gave us just a little bit more info to work with and improve that weekend. So I think we're going to be okay here. I have a lot of faith, and I love this track.
Absolutely. And looking at kind of the new technical stuff for this weekend about the barge boards and kind of a different hodgepodge of ideas when it comes to really all four corners of the tires on these race cars, how do you think that's going to affect the racing here this weekend? I
hope it's going to impact the race in a good way. We get almost as much high line running than as low line running, so hopefully it's going to be okay. I just hope we get that groove for 10-ish laps on starts and restarts. I think that would shake things up a little bit, and hopefully there's going to be a few guys running up there to keep it clean.
This is so far one of the best seasons you've ever had with the NTT IndyCar series, and I think if we go back to really October last year before that call with Dale Coyne, we didn't even know you were going to be in the series this year. Can you just kind of take us through the season as a whole, really actually going back to the end of last season, from not having a ride to getting this ride for a test and then having right now one of your career years in IndyCar?
Yeah, it's been a bit crazy. Really did not expect to be in a situation in the off season this time last year. But no, we get back. Really loved testing with Dale in October when he called me on like a 12-hour notice. So that was pretty cool, and to show just one day with a team and them having so much faith in me and picking me to drive for them the next season without bringing any budget it's pretty cool. And the way we've progressed throughout the season. Started it off with a top 10, but also being 6 top 10s into the season now, with 7 top 10s in the season being my best year so far. I think we are on track to top that pretty well. So I'm excited. I think we're going to have a really good one, and we're just kind of getting started as a team, as an engineering team now with Michael Cannon. I think our best races are still coming.
Well, best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah, Davey, let's face it. You talk about Dale Coyne, and Dale's a lifer, has been at it a long time, a former driver, and obviously that team's budget, their pocket's not as deep. But, some are surprised with what they've been able to accomplish this year. But you go back over the last several years, David Malukas had good runs with them. Quite frankly, Romain Grosjean was much better with him than he was with and let's not forget Sebastian Bourdais and what he did with Dale Coyne. So especially now that Justin Wilson. Yeah. Now that Michael Cannon and others are back in the fold, it's no surprise that they're having the success they're having.
They're one step away, I think, from really being kind of a team that can consistently be up front, and that is just finances. If they financially can get some really good backing for both of those cars, they have good drivers, obviously, and just get them. I think it takes really good drivers, good budget, and plenty of testing to be good. And they have, as VK, he's doing, like I say, a great job. Jacob Abel, he's new. He's a rookie this year. Right. So, he's drinking water from a fire hose, so he's just learning.
There's an old phrase where it said, more money, more problems. Nobody in racing ever said that.
Yeah, I never say that either. It is true. It is true, but it's still okay. It's just different problems.
Yeah, if you're a team owner, different problems for sure. Now, we were looking at the video as we watch these cars on our multi-screen monitor go around the racetrack, and you noticed that this is not what you would call silky smooth.
No, as we talked about that just a minute ago about the Ferrucci's lap around the track, and we just had some on board with him right now. But Malukas, his teammate, was going around here, and you could physically, when they have a camera on that car, you could physically see that car bouncing up and down and kind of jumping around, and that, like I say, so you lose grip, you lose traction, obviously, and then, like as you can imagine, these are like go-karts. They're really low to the ground, they're really stiff, and so imagine your body taking that punishment, bouncing all the way down these straightaways, and when you watch it on the monitors, you could physically see these cars bouncing around.
Now, our reference earlier to the fact that you're always turning here, not just left, but you have to cock that wheel to the right a little bit, especially we got a spin off of turn number 2. That looks like one of the arrow, but McLaren cars. We're waiting to see because the livery is very, very
cars,
similar
so
on
that's going to
those.
be Lundgaard.
No, that's Nolan Siegel.
Oh, that's Siegel 6 car.
No, that's a 5 at Paddle Award.
Oh, it is the 5.
Learn your numbers, Idaho.
Man, I can't even see them. This glare's got me beat up, let me tell you.
Yeah, but it looked like a harmless spin at the exit of turn number 2, and it looked like he didn't make any contact, and he was able to get it pointed in the right direction and head back to the pit
Kept
box.
it going. We seen that yesterday in Indy Next. The car spun and was able to keep it going. So, one really thing they have is even though you're really fast around this track, there's no grass to the inside of the back straightaway, and so a lot of times when you spin, whenever there's no grass and it's all asphalt, it helps slow these cars down, and the wall is far enough away from the racetrack where there is an opportunity to get the cars slowed down and recovered, and that's what Pato did there. And, we go back to last year as well. Remember, this was a kind of a fuel-saving race for some, and some it wasn't. And Rossi ran out of gas and stayed right in the middle of the groove, coming off of 2. And here comes Stingray Robb and went for a crazy ride, if you recall. Collected, I think, Carpenter and Kirkwood, and a big upside-down crash for Stingray Robb. So things happen quick around this when things go bad.
64 laps led for Pato Award on the season. He's had 6 top 10s and 4 top 5s. He finished 5th at Mid-Ohio, and as we mentioned before, he'd normally be in championship contention. And I will say this, as I walk through the paddock of these racetracks, there's no question we've got a lot of popular drivers in the NTT IndyCar Series, and none are more popular than him. And I think one of the main reasons is that anytime I've ever seen him I've never seen him walk by a fan who wanted to request for a picture. Or
yeah, no, very, very good, and he's great for our sport. He's a great personality, and that's what it takes. You got to have personalities in our sport. You got to have people that really enjoy it inside the car and out. This is a very serious business, and you have to have your serious time, and you have to have the time of, thought, and make sure, there's a lot on your mind. But he is a guy that really, loves what he's doing, and he loves sharing it with the fans.
5-minute hold for the 5 car in this practice session, but he'll still have about 20 minutes or so plenty of time to get laps in. It's interesting to note, Davey, that the speculation continues to swirl around the future of Will Power. Wouldn't be surprised if there's not some sort of announcement very, very soon. But this year has been a bit of a departure from the standpoint that a couple of years ago, you remember at Alexander Rossi, we started the silly season at St. Petersburg, and it went crazy throughout the course. A lot of people feel like that once the domino falls in terms of where Will Power will be next year, that there could be some other movement in the paddock, but we've heard nothing but rumors so far.
Yeah, nothing but rumors. I do feel that Power could stay there for another year. He's the highest in the points championship with that team, and still hungry and still, fighting for poles and wins. So we'll wait and see. But you're right. I think he's the big domino, if anything changes or not. And then after that, we got a hot kid coming up in Indy Next right now, and by name of Dennis Hauger. He seems to be on fire, and I promise you, every IndyCar team is probably looking at him. He's pretty much dominated the Indy Next Series, no different than Plo's dominating the IndyCar Series. So he came from F2, and F2 is basically really close to the same speed as our IndyCar. So he has the experience, he has the knowledge, he's come to these tracks he hasn't seen before, and he runs for Andretti Global, who has obviously great race cars in Indy Next. And I promise you that these teams are looking at him.
Seems as though these drivers are more ready from Indy Next than they've ever been, because you look at, the past couple and how it takes them about 6, 8, 9 months to start being competitive. And then, you look at Kiffin Simpson and Nolan Siegel and what they did at Mid-Ohio and how they continue to get better. You see the season that Louis Foster has had, essentially carrying the banner for Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing. And again, people forget Christian Rasmussen was road and street course only last year. This is his first full season in the NTT IndyCar Series, and he's been impressive at times.
Yeah, don't forget Colton Herta, Pato Ward came from Indy Next as well.
I'm talking about more recently.
More recently, but a lot of cars. But you're right, the recent ones. Foster, how impressive, right? And as you just mentioned, Simpson, I think, is doing really an outstanding job, really learning the tricks of the trade and doing a really good job. And Malukas, he seems to be, he has his good days as well. So you're right. These drivers coming out, it seems like coming out of Indy Next is the place to do it.
To your point about Colton Herta and others, we've now reached the point to where the 27-car field is saturated with graduates from that series.
Yeah, it really is, and which is really, it's good. Now, you got guys like Hauger that came from F2. You got some F3 guys that are coming from Europe. That they're now in Indy Next, so you're going to say, hey, they're going to be Indy Next graduates as well, although they have a lot of experience before they got there.
Scott McLaughlin continues P1 at 183.514. Alexander Rossi pedaling it pretty quick at 182.512. Then Newgarden, then the aforementioned Christian Rasmussen at 182.189. Alex Palou, Connor Daly is now up to 6th fastest. Armstrong is 7th fastest at 181.607. Erickson, Dixon will power the top 10. Then Robert Schwartzman. How about Robert Schwartzman? 11th
It's
fastest.
impressive.
Yeah. Paddle Award, as we mentioned, got the 5-minute hold for that spin. Nolan Siegel, 13th. Colton Herta, 14th. And Christian Lundgaard is 15th. David Maluka, 16th. Devlin D. Francesco is 17th. Rosenquist, 18th. Rahal Ferrucci. Then Ilott, Foster, Simpson, Robb, Rinus VK, and Jacob Abel. The speed disparity, Scott McLaughlin at 183.514. Rinus VK at 172.934. Jacob Abel at 171.872. To Alex Wolf.
And Colton Herta is in the pit box right now. You talked about the fact that with the yellow flag coming out, but Herta wasn't out for the first 15-20 minutes of this all skate, and that car was swarmed with the engine cowling off of the 26 for quite a while. There was 3 or 4 Honda engineers checking things out, but they got that car fastened back up, took them out on track, and really tight-lipped with the 26 crew, just saying that they took a look at everything, and now it's running fine, and Colton Herta has made a few laps on track here at the Iowa Speedway.
And a car very slow on the backstretch, and a lot of attention being paid to the car of Jacob Abel. Might have been him. We'll be back to green flag conditions in about 30 seconds, and we will be at 22 minutes remaining in this session while we have a pause of the action. Let's go back to Drake York.
We've caught up with IndyCar YouTuber David Land. Of course, his YouTube channel, along with Unverified, very good things to watch if you're even in IndyCar. I feel like you can learn something new listening to David. And lots of discussion has been paid towards the 2026 schedules, and you've talked about it on length on your show a few times. So what are the big things you're hearing right now about the schedule? Because I think everybody wants that new schedule in their hands right about now.
Yeah, you and everybody else in the paddock. But it sounds like we're going to get Mexico City next year, which I think everybody's been, for the longest time, really advocating for and excited for in the paddock. It's not done yet, but I've heard there's a date, and I think details will be coming soon on that. The question, of course, is, what will it replace, or maybe will it just be an addition to the schedule? Obviously, we're here in Iowa, and there's some questions about the future of this event. We're certainly hoping Iowa comes back. I think so many of us love this quirky little oval, and we wouldn't want to see it go, but I wouldn't be surprised to see this race at the very least not be a doubleheader next year. Might just be a single race again. And outside of that, I've heard some things about maybe Watkins Glen. There's been some discussions there. And on the oval front, I've even heard Richmond or Homestead, which would be really cool if we do leave Iowa. So, and then maybe Denver in 27. So the IndyCar schedule seems to be exciting, evolving, and doing a lot of things that we're looking for, which are new markets.
Well, we're back to green on the racetrack. Real quick for the people at home, tell them where you can find either your channel or the Unverified channel on YouTube.
Yeah, so they're both on YouTube. You can search my name, David Land, D-A-V-I-D-L-A-N-D. It's 9 letters. It's pretty easy to find. Look for the purple logo. And yeah, Unverified with Tony Donahue. We really get into the nitty-gritty, some of the speculative aspects of IndyCar racing, so it's a lot of fun. Thank you, Drake.
Thank you, David. Good to see David laying down the paddock here at Iowa.
Yeah, David came in my capacity outside of my duties here and teach a high school communications class at Monrovia High School. And David came in during the school year last year and talked to our kids about the benefits of various forms of social media and building their presence on YouTube. And his story, quite frankly, is as good as any.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there's so much there and so many different platforms that you can be successful. You think it's oversaturated. You think, well, if you do it now, there's so many other people people already doing it, whether it's a podcast or gambling or whatever it may be. But there seems to be, when you have a good one, there's room for it.
Anybody impress you so far in this practice session?
Well, I think
with 20 minutes to go.
I think ECR it impressed me. We got Rossi in second. You got Rasmussen in fourth. Those two cars were really impressive. I should say Penske impressed me, but I expect to see McLaughlin, Newgarden, and Power up there now. McLaughlin's first. Newgarden is third. Palou, no surprise that he's in fifth, but Connor Daly, he's been faster. Matter of fact, he got his pole position here with Carlin Racing, several years ago, and so he loves this track. He knows how to get around here. So Connor, a little bit of a surprise, even though they have been running good with that. Who goes to Ollinger race team?
Didn't race here for a number of years because he didn't have a full-time ride. In fact, he has 8 starts here. His first start was way back in 2016. Best finish here was an 8th place finish in 2020. To your point about ECR, Alexander Rossi, of course, in his first year with that team, but Rossi, like Dixon, has done about everything but win here. In 12 starts, he has 7 top 10s.
7 top, well, that's really impressive. So obviously he knows this place and likes it as well. I think another ones to look at that is a little, not shocking, but good to see, is Eilot and Schwartzman. They currently are 13th and 15th right now on the board in that Prema racing team. They just, they've been honestly in the back of the charts majority of the races, and it's a new team. We all understand that. They came in here with everything proper and doing it really first class. But there's nothing like track time and learning how to be fast on track. But right now, this short oval's tricky, and they're looking pretty good.
You don't do this to come out and finish 13th in a place, but I think all Prema and Callum Eilot were happy with that 13th place finish at Mid-Ohio.
Absolutely, just because, like I say, it's, Eilot, he's been a full-timer with us before. He wants results with that team. I think a lot of changes already happened over there. A lot of things are going on behind the scenes, and it's never easy to put together a team, and especially when you do it how they're trying to do it.
He's closing in on 50 starts in the NTT IndyCar series, Callum Eilot. That's hard to believe.
Right. Yeah, it happens fast.
You talk about Robert Schwartzman, and clearly it seems as though he's gotten pretty comfortable here. I'll still continue to be amazed at one of Takuma Sato's favorite tracks when he came here from Formula One was Iowa Speedway.
Yeah, well, Sato, man, ovals, right? You wouldn't think that a Formula One guy that comes over here, and it seems like every oval he's a 2-time Indy 500 winner, and he goes, my favorite track.
Right.
Place,
of all places, Iowa Speedway. Christian Rasmussen has pedaled it to 5th fastest, Alex Wolf.
And he has that Splenda Chevrolet for ECR in the pit box right now. And they are making some pretty big adjustments. They're up at the front of the car making changes with the wickers on the front wing. And they've also been making some rear wing adjustments with the angle of that. And also, I think they're going to be making some adjustments with the radiator openings. So I think in these final minutes, the 21 car for Christian Rasmussen, podium finisher at Worldwide Technology Raceway, might be making a qualifying sim potentially.
You talk about sims and that sim racing, none more dedicated and better and work harder at it than our good friend Chad Frankenfield, and always appreciate Chad checking in. But Davey, he didn't really have to check in by rubbing it in by the fact that he's listening to us while he's enjoying a beverage on a beach in South Carolina.
Good for him. Next time he can invite us, and we can do this show from there if we really try.
That's right. We can do it. We can do it remotely if we have to. So relax and enjoy. Chad, he's an educator like me, so enjoying a well-deserved summer break, and we'll be back in the classroom in about a month or so. So enjoy the day, Chad. Thanks for checking in. Scott McLaughlin continues P1 at 183.514. Okay, now drivers bemoan the fact on road and street courses that sometimes when they're looking to get a good lap in and a good qualifying sim in, how tough is it to get a good qualifying sim in here?
Well, it is difficult because it's 7/8 of a mile, so you're always going to get a little bit of help, even though drafting isn't like a thing here where you can just draft a guy like you can on the big tracks or the super speedways. But anytime somebody's in front of you, you are getting some help, and so pretty hard to get a really true noticeable qualifying sim when there's other cars on the track.
And now we did make mention of the fact we want to get more specific about it. The rear wing that you see on these cars is bigger than you normally see on an oval. It's a road and street course wing, and again, effort has been made. They can't put any wickers on it, which affect the downforce of the drag and things of that nature. So we want to specify the fact that I think as much as anything, Davey, they were hopeful that the changes that they're making to the downforce of the aerodynamics will improve the ability to pull up on a car that's maybe slower and pass. And I think that's probably going to be very, very important because right now you have the first couple of cars at a 183.5, a 182.5, and a 182.3, but the slowest three are at 178, 175, and 171. That means in about 10 or 15 laps, they're going to catch the rear of the field.
They're going to catch because what happens, they'll get single file, as you just said. Dirty air is going to affect some of those cars. They're going to catch up to them really fast, and then you're going to have to lap. I mean, you're going to have to get in there to stay up front is to get by these cars, and so it's going to happen quick. Lap traffic, that's what I said what's so important about qualifying. Try to get mid-pack forward so it takes a little longer for those fast cars to get to you to lap because they got to pass a lot of guys in front.
I mean, if we go anywhere close to caution-free, which we don't often do here, and understandably so because of the traffic and the grip level and things of that nature. I mean, Davey, we could conceivably end up, if we go close to caution-free, you could have only 9 or 10 cars on the lead lap by the time we get to the last 25 laps of this race.
Actually, realistically, maybe even less. Yeah. Honestly, you get somebody that's really hooked up, like we've seen Newgarden in the past, and he could just start clicking guys off, and if it goes like you said, solid grain, good pit stops, and he, you know, he could. You're right, at least that.
Two guys come to mind in terms of getting a late caution and them having the wherewithal and the preparation to realize the circumstances. I do remember 2 instances where late in the race, one of them involved Joe Newgarden, I think the other one was Ryan Hunter-Reay, where we got a late caution and they were running like 7th, 8th, something like that. They come in during that late caution with about 25 laps to go. They get fresh Firestone Firehawks, and they were bringing a gun to a knife fight.
Yeah, Ryan Hunter-Reay is one that really sticks out to me. I think there was like just over 20 laps that you said left, and it's like, they're pitting because what do they have to lose? You might as well. You're in the back. Never expected to see such a difference in speed, and man, he was able to rifle through that field, right, left, and just making unbelievable moves, and was able to pull off that win on that late strategy of pitting.
275 laps, 245.85 miles for both races, Davey. So 275 laps. The guys and gals that go over the wall on these pit crews are going to have a busy, pressure-packed afternoon.
Yeah, it should be a 3-stopper. And one thing here is when you stop here in the green, you go 2 laps down. So you have to remember that. But man, if you don't pit often here, it's not about fuel so much as it is tires. If you start dropping off a bunch of speed because your tires are dagging out and you just can't keep it up, you might as well come in the pit. You're going to go laps down anyways. Now, when yellows come out, that's the best time to obviously pit because you won't go down laps. And now we've seen this before too. Scott Dixon seems to be almost a master of it, is pit as late as you can and hope that yellow comes out before, you know, your tires say good, you're fast. Hope everybody pits but you, and then the yellow comes out, then you can get a lap ahead of everybody.
So we won't hear much about a phrase fuel save mode here at Iowa Speedway like we hear at some road.
No, you know, I think I think it's pretty straightforward. I think, you know, a 3-stopper, just keep new tires on the thing and just go for it.
Disastrous season for Team Penske, as we've talked about. But Scott McLaughlin, one of those, a defending race champion here from the doubleheader weekend, along with his teammate Will Power. We talked a little bit to Scott McLaughlin about a variety of issues, not necessarily involving things that go on at the racetrack, finding out from some drivers maybe throughout the course of the week what their week is like before they get back here, and some of the things they're up to when they're not at an NTT IndyCar Series event. And earlier this weekend, Alex Wolff caught up with Scott McLaughlin.
Well, Scott, I mean, you come in here, you won race 1 last year, but when you look through your record, a lot of top 5s, a lot of podiums here. What is it about Iowa Speedway that just seems to suit your style?
Yeah, I have a great car, you know, a great team, so that's a good start. And then, you know, I like this place too, always have, even without the repave with it. It's really, really good. So, yeah, hopefully we come out here with some good cars, and after the test, we felt pretty good as well. So I think we should be pretty strong.
What are your thoughts about a lot of talk about some of the changes that have been made since the test? What do you think is the outlook for the weekend?
I wanted more downforce off, so that was good that they took it off. I think it's I think it was going to be better for the package. I think we could have taken more, but there's a bit of political up and down pit lane that people want more for themselves and not so much for the for the race itself. But that's fine. I mean, I get that situation. So I think they've done a good job taking it off, and see how the racing goes.
Of course, we're now in the midst of a 5 races and 4 weekend stretch for the NTT IndyCar Series. Also, a lot of talk about the work that requires for the teams to get ready and the travel and whatnot. What's it like for you with that Monday through Thursday process of just sort of having the constant race week going on for a month?
I mean, it's a great feeling for a race driver, but I feel really bad for the guys. It's just it's a slog, and they're doing pit stops as well, and it's a hard time right now. So we're not like NASCAR where we're used to doing this. This is very different for us, but we love it. We love going racing. When we get to the track, it's great. But yeah, that Monday to Thursday for me, but more so the guys, is really tough.
And lastly, I got to ask you, you mentioned NASCAR and down in NASCAR country there in Charlotte. What's it been like racing the Legends car in the summer shootout?
It's been great. I'm learning every day. I got my 2 best finishes on the last week. Got 2 6th places. So moving my way up the leaderboard, going well. Learning a lot, but I'm still struggling with my left foot braking and being delicate with it. Those cars are very touchy-feely on the brake pedal. The NASCAR guys are a little bit better because they're used to doing that. Where in an IndyCar, I try and hammer the brake pedal with the downforce, So I'm slowly getting out of that, but having a blast doing it.
Well, it's a blast watching a race that and with the IndyCars as well, and we wish you good luck this weekend.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, those Legend cars, those are replicas of coupes from the 30s and 40s. And a guy I worked for in Terre Haute once upon a time raced those and raced them against Bruce Walkup. I remember watching Robbie Buell race a Legend car at 16th Street Speedway. So, yeah, it's pretty cool that Scott McLaughlin's involved in that. Racers just want to race, that's for sure. And while we were hearing from Scott McLaughlin, we did have a brief caution involving the 21 car of Christian Rasmussen.
Yeah, just got a little bit high down in between turn 1 and 2, slid up that racetrack and just barely scuffed that outside wall. I don't think it been any suspension. I think it just white-walled it. They're checking everything out really well. He'll have a little wait what means he caused a red flag before he goes out, but that gives him an opportunity to really check that car out. And by the way, Rasmussen is 5th quickest in this session so far.
And that caution involving Christian Rasmussen led Drake York to his pit box. Drake?
Yeah, Mark was listening to Christian on the scanner once he hit the wall. He said, sorry, guys, I just was trying out the high line there. According to Christian, he thinks the right rear of that race car is fine, but the ECR crew currently diagnosing that 21 machine as we speak. Yeah, you might as well give it a good look-see, Davey, because you may think everything is fine, but once you make a couple of laps, you find out otherwise.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. That crew, they'll tell you if it's okay or not, because they'll get the magnifying glass out and really check everything out perfectly before they send them back out. With only 7 minutes left in the session, we may see some of these drivers, they may have already done it, put some new tires on to try to go for that simulated qualifying run. It's still McLaughlin, Rossi, but how about Pato Ward? He jumps into that 3rd position. Newgarden, Rasmussen, Pelot, Daly, Armstrong, and now actually Ferrucci jumps up into that 9th position. Ericsson rounds out the top 10.
So as we watch these cars go around the racetrack and we see some drivers go side by side and they're working around slower cars and whatnot, for the fans that are here and for those that are watching, how can we determine which one of these drivers, if any, are trying to do a qualifying sim and which one might be working on their race setup?
It's really hard to tell, almost impossible, because they're so close in speed. Matter of fact, I was watching just a little while ago Simpson, and I go, man, Simpson, because we've talked about him lately doing a really good job. I go, he looks really fast. To my eye, I go, man, he looks like a bullet. He's by himself out there. I look at the speed chart, he's 19th, but the car looked really good and really fast. Now, one thing that you'll notice here too, if that driver gets behind a car too close, like on quarter entry, or they kind of get jambled up in some traffic and he has to lift, man, they lose ground so fast, Mark. You could really see that separation more than anything, and just losing that momentum and then trying to get it going again.
Multiple series champion, the defending Indy 500 champion, Alex Pelot, was pretty vocal in Mid-Ohio, saying, okay, it's time to stop the criticism of Kiffin Simpson. He belongs with this race team, and Kiffin responded to that attaboy from Alex Pelot by getting himself into the Firestone Fast 6. He did have a late bobble on a pit stop, which took him out of contention, but he soldiered home to a 10th place finish.
Yeah, and in that bobble, I have to say, so at Mid-Ohio, that pit lane goes up and down. It's not just a flat pit lane. His pit box happened to be one of the ones that was going uphill. So it's really a disadvantage when you're pitting uphill, even for the crew members, because he has to come in, hold the brakes, the jacks come out, but the car's going uphill, so when they drop those jacks, he's supposed to be on the clutch and on the gas to get out of there, but when it's going uphill, sometimes it's easy to stall, and that's what happened.
So we've got just about 5.5 minutes remaining in this session, and Davey, the driver we just heard from, Scott McLaughlin, continues P1 at 183.514.
Yeah, laid the lap down quite a while ago. I don't think he's improved on that lap, but right now, I'm not saying that he didn't have just some used tires and going for that simulated long run right now. Just see what the car's going to do in long run as he pulls down pit lane right now, or is that could be power.
Ideally, we talk about these guys in these sessions, and we hear it a lot in the warm-up sessions on road and street courses, that final warm-up before we go racing. As we've got 5 minutes remaining in the session, they talk about long runs. What would you anticipate would be a good long run at a track like this?
You know, I think that 75, 80 lap range is going to be pretty good. Maybe even that 90, just see what you could do at that 90 lapper range to see it. Because some of these guys are going to try to do two-stop. I just don't think the tire drag's going to allow it. I think you could do it and you can save fuel, but I just think the tires are going to fall off too much. So basically a 275-lap race, it's going to be a situation where I think you just divide that into 3 stops, and that's where they're going to be. It's going to be a big window. Anytime we do 3 stops, it leaves the window open. We've seen that with Blow at Mid-Ohio last weekend. A 2-stopper ended up winning it, which is Scott Dixon, but a 3-stopper should have won it if he didn't make a mistake.
And Christian Rasmussen has now been released from his pit box, got that 5-minute hold for bringing out the caution. In terms of laps completed in this session, Joseph Newgarden has completed 67 laps, Nolan Siegel 61, Connor Daly has completed 60 laps, Robert Schwartzman, understandably so, has completed 60 laps, and Felix Rosenquist is closing in on 60 laps completed.
Yeah, and let's mention Siegel. I mean, he jumped up in that 6th spot in that Aero McLaren car right behind his teammate O'Ward, who's in 3rd. So really good run for him. And don't forget Lundgaard. I know he's not up there right now. He's 18th on the speed chart, but he is probably, well, he's the highest in the points championship. He's 3rd. And, he's had a really good season, just hasn't got that win.
Siegel 11th at Mid-Ohio, and as his race strategist Kyle Moyer talked about off the top, and I talked to him a little bit yesterday. Kyle said, well, they were pleased with the first 3/4 of that race. He said, we kind of got caught out on our pit strategy a little bit, got stuck behind a car, and things did not shake out the way that we had hoped, and had a late bobble on a pit stop too, but he still managed to bring it home in 11th place.
That's right. Still a good, as Kyle said, man, you never want to finish worse than you start, but that's a tough task when you start in the second row.
And I mean, as we've talked about, Davey, and we don't want to belabor a point, but what's fact is fact. I mean, you look at the drivers that we talked about, and O'Ward and Lundgaard, and I mean, Kyle Kirkwood has won 3 races this year, and he's still 100 points out.
Yeah, exactly right. And let me just tell you, these drivers that could come into our series and just go to winning is almost impossible. And Alex Poe's been here a while. I mean, he's been one of those rare guys that comes in here, but the first year he didn't. We were all kind of questioning. I'll talk about Scott McLaughlin. He came over here that first year, and you're going, man, does this sports car guy really have what it takes? So it takes everybody. It doesn't matter what series that you go into. When you're new at it, very seldom do you just really, dominate.
Well, and Davey, you go back to the guy that you first worked with. When Simon Pagino left your race team and went to Team Penske, that's when they brought Kyle Moyer on board and teamed him up with Ben Bretzman. They didn't set the world on fire their first year together, but they eventually won a series championship and an Indy 500.
Yeah, that's right. And then that was, I'll never forget that day when Simon came to my house and, acted a little bit strange, honestly, and you knew you had something to say, and one thing, and then he told me he had an opportunity to go to another team, and he didn't really want to say who it was because Sam Schmidt was involved. He wanted to keep, he wanted to tell Sam and I together. But I talked him into telling me who it was for Penske. And as soon as he, because Sam and I both were drivers, so we look at it from the driver's way, not eyeball too, not just the owners. So as soon as he told me that that's who it was, I said, "You're fired. you got to get over there quick, right?" And he took Ben. We had Ben Bretzman as our engineer, who they really work good together. Then you throw Kyle Moyer in there. I thought the same thing. I go, "How are these guys going to get beat?" But they went through that first year, and I'm going, "Wow, we did better with them." Then they're doing, because we won some races and poles, but then that second year came along, and holy smokes.
Well, I mean, and you go back even further. I mean, let's face it. Joseph Newgarden, his career, for all intents and purposes, was going to stall. He was driving for Sarah Fisher, and then Ed Carpenter said, "I'm going to take control of that race team. I'm going to bring Joseph along." And I remember talking to Ed toward the end of the season before Joseph went to Penske, and I asked him at an airport. We were making a connecting flight. I said, "So, when are you going to sit down and talk to him?" He said, "Well, I'm going to take him out out on the boat. And if he says yes, he's staying, I'll take him back to shore. And if he says no, he's swimming back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Well, and of course, Ed understood. I mean, at the time when Penske called, that's an opportunity, and it obviously worked out well for Joseph.
Yeah, and he, when a team like Chip or Andretti are going to ask Penske can ask all those guys have that, they have, history. You just look at the history books and see what they're able to do. And when you're a small team like Sam and I and Rick Peterson, don't forget Rick Peterson. He was a key part of that race team as well. And it was an honor being able to do it. But man, funding is very hard to come by, and we didn't have the experience. We were very happy to win races and win poles, and that was an honor to us. And we thought we were pretty big guys, but to keep up with these big dogs is tough.
Aaron Likens has the checkered flag in hand, indicating the end of this session. Scott McLaughlin will end it. P1 at 183.514. Davey, how about Nolan Siegel? He slips in to second fastest at 182.645.
Put some new tires on that car, I bet you.
Then we've got Rossi, Award, and Newgarden in the top 5. Rasmussen, Palou, Daly, Armstrong, and Dixon, the top 10. P1 after the session. Scott McLaughlin, Drake York.
And the way he was talking about his race car on the radio, I don't think I can absolutely say on the airwaves, but I think it's safe to say you're pretty happy with the race car. More importantly, on the long run and going into qualifying as well, how would you describe the balance of the 3-car?
I'm trying to think what I said, but no, I think it feels pretty good. Straight out of the truck, it's been decent. So, I think it's going to be interesting long run, short run, how it's going to be. Qualifying, I feel really good. Race run, it's a bit of a wild card right now, like where we all feel. I think it's just going to be see how this first race goes today. But, overall great start for XPEL Chevy, and we'll see how we go.
Today, obviously, a very condensed schedule. We just got done with practice. You're going into qualifying and then the first of 2 races. How hectic is this day alone on the drivers, even forgetting about tomorrow?
No, it's hectic for sure. More hectic for my guys, I feel for them. But I actually don't mind like the little 2-day format here and sort of what I was used to in Australia. So see how we go.
Scott McLaughlin, P1 in practice.
Somebody posted some video of him and him expressing his frustration at the struggles that he's had this year, and I thought they summed it up perfectly. I don't know how you could not be a fan of Scott McLaughlin.
Well, yeah, I think I can agree with that one as well, and I'm sure most of our viewers can, but we're going to take you through our results from this session as well, which I think you now know that Scott McLaughlin ended fastest of all. Nolan Siegel was in second for Aaron McLaren, and then there was Rossi in P3. Pato Award was in 4th, Newgarden in 5th, and then we had Christian Rasmussen in 6th, Alex Palou in 7th, Connor Daly in 8th, Marcus Armstrong was in 9th, and Scott Dixon completed our top 10 from the one and only practice session that the drivers get here on this crazy 2-day format. Marcus Ericsson was in 11th, and then it was Santino Ferrucci in P12. Colton Herter got 13th, and he was ahead of Malukas, Power, Eilert, Schwartzman, Lundgaard, Kevin Simpson, and Felix Rosenkrantz. That was your top 20. Ray Hall was in 21st, Devlin DiFrancesco was in 22nd, Louis Foster in 23rd, and then Stingray Rob was in 24th, Renus VK in 25th, and then Abel and Kyle Kirkwood, one of 3 race winners this season, was last in the order in 27th position after having some issues earlier on in the Hyperline practice, which meant he couldn't participate in open practice. Well, that brings an end to your practice session from IndyCar. We'll be live in about 2 hours time for qualifying. It's going to be very exciting, but in the meantime, you can go over to JBMotorsportsXtra, and what you will find there is going to be the Wimbledon final for the women's, and then you can also come over to JB Motorsports 2, where you can join myself and Wes, and we'll be taking you through Italian F4, which well, there is a bit of a connection for you guys as well. We've got Andretti Jr. Sebastian Weldon, who is, of course, son of Dan Weldon, who is participating in that as well. So come over there and give him your support. Thank you very much for joining us from IndyCar practice, and we'll see you later on for qualifying. Goodbye.